You wake up today with a toothache. You hate it. Of course you do. A bad tooth can ruin your morning, your mood, your sleep, and your ability to chew anything more ambitious than soup. But here is the strange comfort of modern life. You are not really alone with that pain. Behind one aching tooth, there is an entire system waiting for you. A phone, a dentist, painkillers, antibiotics, x-rays, clean tools, emergency care, and someone who can tell whether the swelling in your jaw is annoying or dangerous. You might suffer, you might complain, you might stare at the dental bill like it personally betrayed you. But most of the time, you survive. Now, remove all of that. No dentist, no ibuprofen, no antibiotics, no x-ray, no sterile tools, no clean surgery. No one who can look inside your jaw and say, this infection is about to spread. Now imagine waking up with that same pulse in your jaw 20,000 years ago. The group is getting ready to move. Food has to be found. Water has to be carried. Firewood has to be collected. Children have to be watched. Predators, weather, hunger, and injury do not pause because one molar has decided to start a tiny rebellion inside your face. Most people think a toothache is just pain. That is the common belief. A bad night, a swollen cheek, something miserable, but not deadly. But for ancient humans, pain was only the beginning. The real danger was what pain did next. It stole sleep, it blocked food, it weakened the body, it slowed the group. And if the tooth was infected, it could open a path for bacteria to move from the mouth into the jaw, the throat, or the bloodstream. This was not just a scary possibility. Archaeologists have found the evidence in ancient jaws, worn-down teeth, cavities, missing molars, gum disease, and abscess holes where infection once pushed through bone. So the question is not just, did ancient humans get toothaches? They did. The real question is, could a toothache actually kill an ancient human? To answer that, imagine one ordinary person waking before sunrise with a deep pulse in the jaw. The shelter is cold. Smoke from last night's fire hangs low under hides, branches, or the stone lip of a cave. Children are still curled together for warmth. Stone blades, bone points, baskets, digging sticks, and worn animal skins lie nearby, because the day ahead is not optional. Food must be found. Water must be carried. Someone has to watch the edge of the trees, listen for movement in the dark, and help keep the group alive. And then comes the pain. Not a dramatic wound, not a spear cut, not the snap of a broken leg, just a molar, hidden in the back of the mouth, beating with each heartbeat. At first, it may be easy to dismiss. Bite on the other side. Keep quiet. Move slowly. Pretend it is nothing. Ancient humans were probably very good at pretending pain was nothing, because the forest did not care about your dental emergency. But in a world where survival depends on ordinary effort repeated every day, even a small failure of the body can become serious. This person is not a king, not a warrior, carved into legend, not someone whose name was preserved. They are an ordinary ancient human. Maybe they gather roots and seeds. Maybe they track animals across rough ground. Maybe they carry a child, shape tools, scrape hides, collect firewood, or help butcher meat before scavengers arrive. Their value to the group is practical, constant, and physical. They need their feet to travel, their hands to work, their eyes to scan for danger, and their teeth to process food tough enough to make a modern jaw file a complaint. Today, a toothache enters a medical system. In prehistory, it entered a survival system. That is the first major difference. Modern life turns dental pain into an appointment. Ancient life turned it into a question. Can the body endure it? Can the person keep working? Can the group afford to slow down? If chewing becomes impossible, someone else may have to share softer food. If fever comes, someone may have to stay close. If swelling weakens the person during a seasonal move, the whole group feels the pressure. In modern life, pain is something you schedule around. In ancient life, pain was something the whole group had to survive with you. To understand why this tiny point of pain could become so dangerous, we have to look inside the ancient mouth. Ancient teeth suffered in ways that were often different from ours, but no less severe. Grit from stone-ground foods could wear enamel like sandpaper. Tough plants, sinewy meat, dried fish, raw fibers, and animal hides held between the teeth could grind down crowns until the inner dentin was exposed. Cracks could form from biting hard seeds, bone fragments, or frozen food. In later farming communities, where starchy grains became more common, cavities became a larger threat. Sticky carbohydrates fed bacteria. Bacteria produced acid. Acid opened pathways into the tooth. Gum disease could also loosen the tissues around teeth, creating pockets where infection could flourish. Ancient teeth were not decoration. They were tools, grinders, clamps, cutters, and survival equipment. From the outside, it might look like almost nothing. A cheek slightly swollen, a hand pressed to the jaw, a person chewing carefully in the firelight. But inside the jaw, the story could be far more dangerous. Bacteria could slip through a crack, a cavity, or diseased gum tissue. They could enter the living center of the tooth. Pressure could build beneath bone. Pus could collect. The pain could sharpen from a throb into a stabbing force that made sleep impossible. And the person would not know the cause in the way we do. They would not think, "Ah, yes, bacterial infection of the pulp chamber." They would only know that something hidden was growing hotter, tighter, and more powerful inside the face. That is what makes the tooth so dangerous. It is small. It is hidden, and by the time the problem is obvious, the infection may already be moving. Teeth are among the most stubborn witnesses the human body leaves behind. Long after skin has disappeared, after muscle and organs have returned to the soil, teeth can remain. Small, hard records locked inside the jaw. To an archaeologist, they are not just teeth. They are diaries written in enamel, dentin, tartar, wear, and bone. A single ancient mouth can reveal what someone ate, how old they may have been, whether childhood was marked by hunger or illness, and even how they used their teeth as tools. Enamel does not heal once it forms, so interruptions in growth can leave visible lines, like stress marks from a difficult season in childhood. Microscopic scratches and polishing on the chewing surfaces can point toward tough foods, grit, fibers, seeds, or meat. And dental calculus, the hardened plaque that modern dentists scrape away while making you question every life choice involving snacks, can trap tiny fragments of ancient life. Starch grains, plant particles, proteins, smoke residue, and microbes from the mouth. In many hunter-gatherer groups, prehistoric teeth were not pristine, but they were often worn in a different way than ours. Their teeth could be ground down dramatically by years of chewing tough plants, dried meat, sinew, roots, and food contaminated with wind-blown dust or stone grit from grinding. The surfaces might become flat and polished, the crowns shortened, the edges chipped. It was a hard-working mouth, but heavy wear did not always mean heavy decay. Many mobile foraging diets were lower in refined sugars and sticky processed carbohydrates that fuel cavity-causing bacteria today. That does not mean hunter-gatherers never had cavities. They did. Honey, fruits, starchy tubers, and certain plant foods could still feed oral bacteria. But in broad archaeological patterns, tooth decay often rises after people begin farming, especially with grain-heavy diets. Wheat, barley, rice, maize, and other starches can cling to teeth and break down into sugars. Bacteria love that. Give mouth bacteria a constant buffet, and they do not politely decline. As communities settled, stored food became more common. Meals became more carbohydrate-rich, and the ancient mouth changed with the ancient economy. The evidence is written in jaws. Archaeologists find cavities bored into molars. They find teeth lost before death, where the bone has partly healed over empty sockets. They find abscess cavities in jawbones, rounded openings where infection once forced its way through bone to drain. Some skulls show severe gum disease, receded bone around tooth roots, or infections that must have caused repeated pain. These are not abstract medical conditions. They are traces of real people who tried to eat, sleep, work, travel, care for children, and survive while something in their mouth was failing. Teeth are tiny fossils of daily struggle, and yet ancient humans were not simply helpless victims of pain. They observed, they experimented, they remembered what helped. Some may have cleaned their teeth with plant fibers, rough grasses, chewing sticks, or toothpicks made from bone, wood, or thorn. Grooves found between ancient teeth suggest repeated picking or scraping, sometimes in response to irritation. People chewed resinous substances, perhaps for taste, ritual, breath, or antimicrobial effect. Mineral powders, ash, abrasive plants, or fibrous twigs may have served as crude cleaning tools. Around the world, archaeological finds have even suggested surprisingly early attempts at dental intervention, including drilled teeth in ancient populations where small holes appear to have been made with stone tools or bow drill techniques. That is an astonishing thought. Someone, thousands of years ago, may have tried to open a painful tooth by hand. No X-ray, no sterile clinic, no modern anesthesia, just experience, courage, and a very bad day. Plants could help. Some barks, leaves, resins, and roots have pain-relieving or antimicrobial properties. Cold water, pressure, poultices, smoke, or chewing certain substances might dull the suffering for a time. Community knowledge mattered. An elder might know which plant numbed the gums, which resin soothed swelling, which method helped clean food trapped between teeth. But there was a limit they could not see past. They had no antibiotics to reliably kill bacteria spreading through deep tissue, no dental imaging to reveal the hidden path of infection, no sterile surgical instruments, no controlled anesthesia, no consistently safe, predictable way to drain every dangerous abscess before it moved beyond the jaw. So, ancient teeth tell a double story. They show resilience, adaptation, and practical intelligence. But they also show how close survival could come to a breaking point. Because the real danger was not the toothache itself. The real danger was what happened when the infection escaped the tooth and entered the rest of the body. It might begin with something almost invisible, a tiny pit in the enamel, a crack from biting down on something hard, or a molar worn so flat by years of gritty food that the protective outer layer had nearly vanished. At first, the pain may come and go, a sharp flash when cold water touches the tooth, a dull ache after chewing, a tenderness that can be ignored during the day when there is work to do and danger to watch for. But inside the tooth, the situation can change quickly. Beneath the enamel and dentin lies the pulp, the living center of the tooth, filled with nerves and blood vessels. Once that inner chamber is exposed, bacteria from the mouth have a way in. They multiply in a place the body cannot easily clean. Pressure builds. The nerve becomes inflamed. What was once a small annoyance becomes a deep, pulsing pain that seems to beat with the heart. The toothache did not need to be big. It only needed a path inward. For an ancient person, this kind of pain would not have stayed politely in the background. It would follow them into the night. Imagine lying near a low fire, exhausted from walking, carrying, digging, tracking, but unable to sleep because every heartbeat sends a throb through the jaw. Turning over does not help. Pressing a hand to the face does not help for long. The group rests, but this person does not. And by morning, the pain has stolen not only comfort, but strength. Then eating becomes difficult. Meat, roots, seeds, nuts, dried plants, tough fibers, anything that requires chewing becomes a problem. The person may favor one side of the mouth, then stop chewing properly altogether. Food is swallowed half prepared or avoided. Hunger grows, but eating hurts. In modern life, that means soup, smoothies, and maybe texting someone, "I hate this tooth." In ancient life, it means calories are becoming harder to access at the exact moment the body needs energy to fight infection. A bad tooth is no longer just a bad tooth. It begins to interfere with the most basic survival task, taking in energy. If the infection reaches the root of the tooth, pus can form around it, creating an abscess. In modern life, an abscess is urgent. In prehistory, it could become terrifying. The jawbone and surrounding tissues do not offer endless space. Pressure gathers. The face may swell. The cheek may feel hot and tight. The gums may bulge. There may be a foul taste if some of the pus finds a path into the mouth. Strangely, that disgusting taste might be good news. If the abscess drains into the mouth, pressure can fall. Pain may ease. The body may get a chance to recover. But if it cannot drain safely, the infection can push outward, downward, or deeper. Now the symptoms are no longer limited to the mouth. Fever appears. The person shivers even when others are warm. They sweat, weaken, and grow dizzy when standing. Their face may become distorted by swelling. The jaw may be hard to open. Swallowing can become painful. Infections in the lower teeth, especially, can spread into the soft tissues beneath the jaw and into the neck. In severe cases, swelling in these spaces can threaten the airway or make it difficult to swallow. The danger is not dramatic fantasy, it is anatomy. Another route is just as dangerous. Bacteria and inflammatory toxins can enter the bloodstream, triggering sepsis, a body-wide reaction to infection. Without antibiotics, intravenous fluids, surgery, or careful monitoring, sepsis would have been extremely difficult to survive. A person might become confused, faint, cold to the touch, or too weak to rise. What began as a toothache could become a race between the body's defenses and an infection spreading faster than the immune system could contain. Now, you might be thinking, if toothaches were so dangerous, why didn't everyone with a bad tooth die? They didn't. That is the first thing to get right. Not every ancient toothache was a death sentence. Many infections likely drained on their own. Some teeth loosened and fell out. Some people lived for years with chronic dental pain. The human body can fight. Ancient communities could adapt. And sometimes, luck did what medicine could not. But that only makes the real question more tense. When the jaw began to swell, how could anyone know which kind of toothache this was? Was it the kind that would drain by morning? Or the kind that was already moving deeper? No one could see under the gum. No one could take an X-ray. No one could test the blood. So after the pain came the real nightmare. What should the group do next? There were only bad options. The first option was to wait. Wait for the swelling to soften. Wait for the pus to find a way out. Wait for the tooth to loosen. Wait for the body to win. Sometimes, waiting may have worked. If an abscess opened into the mouth, pressure could fall. The pain could ease. Fever might calm. The person might finally sleep. By sunrise, it might look like a small miracle. But waiting had a shadow. If the infection did not drain outward, it could push deeper into the jaw, downward under the tongue, or into the soft spaces of the neck. The group might think the danger was passing while the infection was only changing direction. That is what made the tooth terrifying. It did not announce its plan. The second option was to keep the person alive long enough for the body to fight. That meant food, rest, warmth, water, time. Simple things. But in ancient life, simple did not mean easy. Tough roots might be pounded softer. Meat might be cooked longer, shredded, or turned into broth. Marrow, fat, blood, stewed plants, anything that could be swallowed without grinding could matter. A painful tooth could turn eating into punishment, so feeding someone became a form of medicine. Calories were not comfort. Calories were ammunition, but care had a cost. If one person could not carry, someone else carried more. If one person could not gather, someone else searched longer. If the group slowed down, hunger, weather, or danger could catch up. Helping the sick was human. But in a hungry group, even compassion had to survive the math. The third option was to use what the group knew. Plants, bark, resin, honey, ash, fibers, cold water, heat, pressure. A person might chew bitter plants. Someone might pack resin or honey near a wound. An elder might remember what helped another swollen jaw years before. Some natural materials can soothe pain, reduce inflammation, or slow microbial growth. But here is the limit. A plant can dull pain without stopping a deep infection. A resin can cover a wound without removing the source. A bitter root can make the mouth feel different while bacteria keep multiplying under bone. That does not make ancient care foolish. It makes the problem brutally unfair. They could treat what they could reach, but the danger was often where they could not see. And then came the fourth option, the one nobody wanted. Remove the tooth. Leave the rotten tooth inside the jaw, and the infection might keep spreading. Pull it out, and the source of the infection might finally be gone. This is the moment where a toothache stops being a symptom and becomes a decision. If the tooth was loose, maybe fingers could twist it free. Maybe a bone tool, a sharpened stick, or simple force could finish what infection had started. If the tooth came out cleanly, pressure might ease, pus might drain, the body might recover. But if it went wrong, the cure could become another wound. There could be bleeding, shock, a broken root left behind. A deeper injury, a dirty hand or tool pushing new infection into already damaged tissue. And there was the pain itself. Not discomfort, not "this will pinch a little." Pain intense enough to make the body fight back, faint, shake, or panic. Imagine the group around the fire. One person holding the sufferer still, another waiting for the right moment. The tooth moves, or it does not. The person screams, or suddenly goes quiet. No one knows if they are saving a life or making the infection worse. There is no clean answer, only risk. That is the engine of the second half of this story. Not whether ancient people cared, they did. Not whether they had knowledge, they had knowledge. The real tension is that every possible answer carried danger, weight, and infection might spread. Feed and rest, and the group might slow down. Use plants, and the pain might fade while the infection remains. Pull the tooth, and the cure might become trauma. Every choice had a cost. And after all of that, there was one sign the group would fear most. Not always more pain, sometimes less. A person who had been groaning all night might become quiet, too quiet. They might stop asking for food, stop reacting to the fire, stop answering clearly. They might become confused, cold, weak, or unable to rise. The jaw might stiffen, the throat might struggle to swallow, the swelling might move downward. At that point, the toothache was no longer just a tooth problem. It had become a body problem, a race between infection and the last strength the person had left. This is where the old image of prehistoric survival begins to change. We often picture strength as one person facing the wilderness alone, spear in hand, muscles tense against the dark. But a toothache shows a different kind of survival, a quieter kind. Someone pounding food softer, someone carrying extra weight, someone remembering a plant, someone staying awake beside the fire, someone deciding whether the group can slow down one more day. In a world without antibiotics, care was not a soft detail. Care was survival infrastructure. But care was not magic. A strong adult in a well-fed group during a stable season might survive if the abscess drained or the tooth came loose. A hungry person during winter, drought, migration, pregnancy, injury, age, or another illness might not. Same tooth, different survival odds. So, could a toothache kill an ancient human? Yes. Not every toothache, not every swollen jaw, not every cavity. But if the pain came from a deep infection, and if bacteria spread into the jaw, the throat, the face, or the bloodstream, it could become fatal. A small crack could become a pulp infection. A pulp infection could become an abscess. An abscess could become fever. Fever could become weakness, confusion, and death. But the quieter danger was just as important. Pain stole sleep. Swelling blocked food. Hunger weakened the body. Weakness slowed movement. And in a small group, one person's failing body changed the survival math for everyone. That is what modern life hides from us. Today, pain is something we schedule around. In ancient life, pain was something the whole group had to survive with you. So when we imagine ancient survival, we should not only picture spears, storms, predators, and hunger. Sometimes, survival began in the smallest place possible. A crack in enamel, a pocket of pus beneath a root, a pulse in the jaw that would not stop. Return then to that figure by the fire. The face is half lit. One cheek is swollen. The jaw clenches against another wave of pain. Around them, someone stirs softened food. Someone watches the dark beyond the flames. Someone remembers a plant used by an elder years before. But no one knows which way the night will go. By sunrise, the swelling may soften. The tooth may drain. The person may sleep at last. Or the fever may deepen. The jaw may stiffen. The throat may tighten. And the group may realize that the danger was never the pain itself. It was the invisible thing behind it. In that aching tooth is a whole world of danger. Hunger, infection, trust, memory, risk, care. And around that pain, the real question was not only whether the body was strong, it was whether help arrived before infection, hunger, and exhaustion did.